Well, hello and welcome to our first program on SoCal Prep Report of the 2024 season. I'm Randy Rosenblum, your host. Tarek Fatal will join me in a moment from SB Live. We're going to talk a lot of hoops tonight. We're through the football season. We do still have some football news, and we'll talk about that as well. Borda Scotto is going to tell it like it is in the LA City section. He's the hoops coach at Sylmar. And by the way, his team is 7-0 at the Sylmar Spartans in his league, the Valley Mission League. But Tarek Fatal is back. He was in Massachusetts, Springfield, for the Hoop Hall Classic.
That's right. I think, not really arguable, I think it is the best high school basketball showcase event in the country every year. Springfield College is where James Naismith invented basketball, so what better to play basketball than in the birthplace of basketball? It's actually my alma mater. I went to Springfield College, so I try to go back every year, do a little visiting with the college buddies, and get a little work done and cover those California teams in the event.
So you invented basketball?
No, I wouldn't say I invented it, but I certainly have played quite a bit of it.
Now, Harvard-Westlake played there.
That's right. Harvard-Westlake played in the Hoop Hall Classic. Corona Centennial was in it. Etiwanda girls, Mater Dei boys, Mater Dei girls. So there was 5 total Southern California teams in the Hoop Hall Classic. They all played well. They all played great. Harvard-Westlake played on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, and played on ESPNU and had quite a good game. This is a great clip. How about Robert Hinton creating a poster, getting a dunk against McEachern of Georgia? They ended up winning the game in overtime. We're up 18 and almost gave it away, but Harvard-Westlake goes 3,000 miles away, gets a win.
Then they travel back. Were you on the same plane with them, by the way?
No, wasn't on the same plane.
So then they travel back, do the Wolverines, and then they have to play Notre Dame. And Notre Dame last night, a very good team, came in 20-0, knocks them off 59-54. Mercy Miller, 29 points, 29 points.
Yeah, and we have a couple clips from that. You know, that was a great game. Notre Dame, to their credit, withstood a storm, a barrage of threes. Look at this dunk by Brunson Schmidt-Uwili. He is from Australia. Notre Dame withstood what I thought was Harvard-Westlake's best punch, okay? They came out and hit 5 threes in the first 5 minutes and went up 16-5, but Notre Dame stayed the course. Mercy Miller was the best player on the floor and led them to a big Mission League win.
We're going to give you some key games that have been played to get you into the hoop season in the prep world. Let's start with Mater Dei defeating St. John Bosco. They knocked them off 83-62. This is the coming of age for Mater Dei.
Well, the big thing about this game was not just the Trinity League matchup, but this game was played at Crypto.com Arena, which is pretty cool, right? I mean, anytime you get high school kids playing in a professional or even college setting, it makes it for a more special event. And that's exactly what it was. I can tell you right now, Mater Dei, no one expected Mater Dei to win the game by 21 points. Win the game, sure, but by 21, I don't know. And Brandon Benjamin was the standout for that game. He was 9 of 10 from the field, and I believe he scored 22 or 23 points. He was named the MVP of the game.
He came off the bench, too.
That's right. He scored those. Gary McKnight said, you know, our best guy tonight came off the bench. It just goes to show you the Monarchs, how deep and dangerous they are. They are a sleeper to win the whole thing.
Always dangerous is Corona Centennial. They never lose in the Big 8. And they knocked off a very good Roosevelt team of Eastvale. And I know you were there. This is the Carter Bryant game where he pours in 39 points for Corona Centennial, and they win the game. In a close game, Roosevelt's outstanding.
Yeah, big. That's the Big 8 league, and that was a showdown. It was crowded, it was packed, and we got some clips of Carter Bryant making big-time deep three-pointers. He's going to Arizona, could be a McDonald's All-American type player, but he was very, very impressive. The shot making was so, I mean, look at this. When do you see 6'8", 6'9" guys dribble into 30-foot three-pointers? It doesn't happen often. Exactly. And here's another one dribbling to the left and pulling up. I mean, this is contested deep three-point shots pure at the high school level. So very impressive to watch. Carter Bryant has the Huskies looking pretty good.
In the city section, Birmingham beat Chatsworth. Arenas is a great player for Chatsworth. Birmingham beat them in a feature game early in the season in the West Valley. You see Mark Rios had 19 for the winning Patriots, 76-72.
Yeah, Elijah Arenas is he's like the face of the city section basketball right now. Everyone is talking about city section basketball and how, and we'll get to that in a minute, you know, how the big question marks, and we have Borda Scotto talk about that. But everyone's talking about Elijah Arenas, and so they come up short. But we'll see if the Chatsworth Chancellors have enough to maybe make the Open Division.
The best game, maybe the season, in either division, either the CIF Southern section or the LA City section, might have been the Washington game against Crenshaw. They beat them 113-112. What a victory for Washington Prep in 4 overtimes.
Wow. Yeah, that is a remarkable game. Wish I could have been there to watch it. Of course, 113 to 112. That is a fantastic score. 4 overtimes. Man, those guys must have been tired.
Yep, great game. You know who's never tired? Bort Escoda. We're going to bring him in, talk a little Sylmar basketball, but more importantly for Bort, he'll give us the knowledge, the insight to the LA City section. Bort, good evening. Glad you're with us. Glad your Spartans are doing well. But what about the LA City section? They're down. Tell us how far down they are.
Well, for a second there, I thought you were going to go to commercial before you brought me in. But
no, you don't need any other introduction. We go directly to you. No commercials. You're the guy.
Okay, so then what was the question again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
You are getting old. It is your 30th year. How down is the LA City section in hoops?
Well, it's really painful to watch this year because when I came in during the golden years in 85, 86 was my first year. And we were the premier section, probably the premier section in the country. I mean, we had so many college players, future pro players, not just basketball, but baseball and football as well. And to see it now the way it is, where we basically don't really have any talent at any of these schools. I mean, we're struggling to have frost teams, JV teams, whether it's football or basketball. The kids aren't coming out, and it's really sad to watch.
At any point, did you ever see this coming? Where if I told you in the late 80s, early 90s, hey man, the city section is going to be really bad one day, would you have believed me? That's my first part question. The second part is, when you did start to see it come, when was that?
Well, in the 80s, the funny thing is we were talking to other coaches about this today, was that in the 80s that if you played private school, you were considered soft. So kids would never admit to playing at a private school because everybody played city ball. I noticed probably in 2015 where I noticed that here comes the decline, where it was harder and harder for kids to come to a public school. Private schools were making it easier, and private schools were taking the college kids, the D1 guys. Now the private schools are taking pretty much whoever. So kids that would just be a regular high school player are now getting scholarship offers or financial aid from these private schools that they would never get before. So now pretty much all the talent is gone. And when you watch some of these city teams, some of these guys probably wouldn't, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, but they probably wouldn't play JVs back in the old days because it was so strong back then that we had future pro players playing JVs in 10th grade. Well, notably one was Lucius Harris, who played in the NBA about 14 years, and he was on the JV team in the 10th grade.
How much of this is because the city's lost some great coaches? Harvey Kitani leaves Fairfax. Ed Azam retires at Westchester. Taylor gets, I don't know why he left Taft. There's different opinions if he was kicked out or if he left. But when he left, the coaches, the great coaches leaving the section.
Well, as we all know, coaches make the program.
You do. It's Sylmar.
Well, thank you for the compliment. But coaches make the program, and some of the things that you guys probably don't have any insight on is that the first thing a coach will ask is how much does the job pay? And as we know, public school doesn't pay anything. Second question is, do I get access to the gym? Do I get to make money to bring my travel ball team in or to rent the gym out for tournaments and events like that? Do I have gym access? No. At that point, no one's applying. And if they're not allowed to do that, besides not getting paid very much, they're not going to apply at any public school. We see about 1 or 2 applicants for a job nowadays. For either volleyball or football or basketball, only 1 or 2 people will apply. Those people will apply, hang around for a year, get head coaching experience, and then move on to private school.
Yeah.
And the shelf life is about 2 or 3 years.
They'll take the gig for the title and try and move on elsewhere. It makes a lot of sense. Bort, my question for you on that note is more so about the level, right? So, okay, despite it being such a lower level compared to past golden years, is there an element of it as a coach that maybe you like? Because maybe you're getting basketball at, dare I say, its purest form or a more kind of raw form, which, I think most basketball coaches, that's generally why they get into it, to teach the game. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, maybe you probably saw my last interview. That's why you asked me that. Just kidding.
Definitely
the thing
did.
that I like about it now is that it's neighborhood school versus neighborhood school. We all know that recruiting goes on in high school basketball. That's a fact. Everybody recruits. Everybody, and I've seen some things that I thought that I would never ever see, but it's happening. But going back to your question, you see neighborhood versus neighborhood, and now basketball is at its purest form because you don't have teams that have superstars or kids that were recruited. It's just one high school versus another, and that's kind of what makes it fun now.
Last question: what's the fix? How do you fix it?
Well, I would have to throw a lot of people under the bus to fix it, but I don't really believe that the school districts, our school district, really cares about sports. I don't think that they're putting much of an effort. I mean, that's just the truth of it. If we, as a coach, we've all had kids that, show up to practice once in a while, don't really want to be there, and you have that conversation with them. Maybe you should do something else. And I think our school district right now, they don't put any effort into the sports or any effort into the facilities. So when parents come around, they look at the gyms, they look at the school, and they say, thank you, but no thank you. And they move on to the next school.
You tell it like it is. I know you're happy about your Sylmar Spartans team. You got a young 9th grader, Dixon, who's scoring at an alarming rate. You're doing very well in your league, and you think you can have a great year in the playoffs in D2 in the city, and we wish you well. And I really appreciate your candor.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, always, Bort. You're always welcome here. Have a great night. We'll talk to you down the road.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You got it.
Thanks, Bort.
One of my favorite guys.
Yeah, Bort's been around a long time. He's a world of knowledge. I know he's told me stories. I don't know any names because he's usually pretty good at keeping secrets, but I know that there are times when coaches run into a pickle on rules and, hey, what's the rule? And instead of going and looking up in the blue book or whatever, they'll call Bort Escoto because he knows all the rules.
Yeah, he used to get tons of technicals. He doesn't get quite as many as he used to.
Yeah. I think he's got quite a few ejections, too.
No, he's had a few. There's no question. All right, let's look at some of the successful teams record-wise in the city. And again, we're not saying that these are teams that are going to win a championship, but I do want to mention a few. Manual Arts is 17-2. But Lasis knocked them off the other night and beat them badly. Westchester was 14-5. At one point, they were 4-4, so that's good. Garfield, Gardena, Grant in the Valley, and Cleveland in the Valley appear to be pretty good. These seem to be some of the better teams in the city.
Sure, yeah, and again, just to clarify, as Randy said, these aren't rankings or anything. These are just, hey, these are teams that are notable right now and that are winning games. To me, Grant seems like a team that is, I think they're back-to-back defending Division I champions and are likely, I would almost say like 99% sure they're going to be in the Open Division this year. Whether they win it or not, we'll find out. But, Cleveland's a team that you wouldn't think maybe has a chance at sniffing the Open, and maybe they do. So that's the question mark of the city is despite the level being down, we're not quite sure what's going to happen. Maybe that's exciting.
Cleveland has won 9 in a row, so they're playing pretty well. All right, let's turn our attention to the southern section before we give you Tarek's rankings, which have been obliterated since they came out, and he'll change them next week, I'm sure. I want to talk about a guy I really like, Keith Wilkinson, the head coach at J. Seraph, former outstanding basketball player at USC. He's serving a 6-game suspension right now. Tarek, you saw him throw the shoes.
So I wasn't there.
Well, you saw the video,
we have video, and this is from OC Register's Dan Albano. I don't know if it's queued up, but now that I think about it, maybe it's not in there. But he gets upset with a referee, and he throws one shoe toward the referee on the floor. Then he takes off his other shoe and throws it on the ground. You can't do that, and so he serves a 6-game suspension. He served 1 suspension from the school and 6 from the CIF.
Now, I think it's a little harsh. Now, again, I'm more old school, and I like the guy. So I would have probably suspended him maybe 1 or 2 games. I just think he means a lot to their team, although they're going to still win. They're a borderline open D1 type team. Jay Serra's very good, but I think 6 games is harsh.
Yeah, I just think, we got the video.
Of
Look
course
at that.
we
Shout
do.
out to Larry Zavala. So you'll see, I actually think I freeze this up, and you'll see, boom, right there with the arrow. Here he comes in, throws the 1 shoe. Randy, I get what you're saying. You can't do this. And let me tell you why. I'll tell you why the CIF Southern Section did this. You got to make the penalty harsh. Because if you don't, you're basically letting people know that you can throw a temper tantrum. And I guarantee you Wilkinson would agree with me. You can't throw a temper tantrum, throw both shoes towards the official, and talk like that and only get suspended a game or 2. You got to make the punishment harsh enough to let everyone know this can't be tolerated. He's an adult. He'll take his punishment. They'll be just fine.
2 games would have been enough, but we can disagree on that one. Again, he's animated there, but he's one of the nicest guys
He
around.
is. He's
just
super
a great
nice guy. Yeah.
And he said he was defending his kids, which they always say. And obviously there was a call went against him, and he didn't appreciate it. But that's a shout-out to Keith. Keith, I'm on your side. All right, here's our Southern Section Top 10, created by Tarek. And again, this was from a few days ago. Sunday it came out?
Yeah, I make them every Sunday, yep.
Every Sunday. Harvard Westlake's not going to be number 1 anymore,
Correct.
I would imagine. There's your list. You can go through it. There's been some changes because some of these teams have lost.
Right, so Notre Dame, knocks off number 1 Harvard Westlake. So you're right, Harvard Westlake will get bumped down maybe like a spot or 2, something like that.
Where do you put Notre Dame?
Yeah, and that's a good question. So it'll depend. I'm kind of curious to see what Harvard Westlake does Friday night when they play Sierra Canyon tomorrow night. So, usually in high school sports, it's like, hey, if you beat number 1, you deserve to be number 1. So I got to give it some thinking. I don't know. Maybe I put Mater Dei 1 and Notre Dame 2. I think that's fair, and we'll go from there. But Damien lost tonight against Etiwanda. That was a big game. Windward's on the outside looking in. St. Pius looks like they're an open division team. And look, how about Sierra Canyon? What if Sierra Canyon goes and beats Harvard Westlake this week? Where do I put them? So rankings are always interesting. Roosevelt and Centennial right there from the Big 8 League.
What I got to say, I think Mater Dei should be number 1.
I agree.
But Notre Dame showed great composure down the stretch at Harvard Westlake, winning the game. Mercy's great, scored the 29 points. And he knows his role. He's the scorer. He's the guy. But I like the other players, too. They're not great players, but they're good players, and they're complementary players.
Yeah, Lino Mark is as fast as you'll ever see. Actually, in fact, I've heard 2 coaches compare him to Russell Westbrook. So imagine like a Russell Westbrook in high school, fast with the ball, explosive, and then the one who I think is going to bloom and blossom into an absolute bona fide prospect is Zach White. He's only a sophomore. He's about 6'6", long wing. Yeah. So you're talking about 3 guys right there.
And he had a big basket near the end of the game.
He did. He got an offensive rebound and a putback with 40 seconds left that extended the lead to 3 in a very, very tight game. Notre Dame's a very, very good team.
All right, let's talk about some of the top players in the area. Again, this is Hoops. We want to get you introduced to this as we move forward. We're going to have a show every week for you. Not always on basketball. I'll twist Tarek's arm a little bit, so we'll do some other subjects. All right, top players. We've got to start with Mercy Miller at Notre Dame. I know you're on the bandwagon for him to be an All-American.
Yeah, I do think he's playing McDonald's All-American type basketball. I've been covering high school sports here for a decade, and I know what a McDonald's All-American looks like, and he's not only playing at that level, but his team is winning high-level games. I mean, here's a turnaround baseline jumper. He's a really, really good player. And he's going to Houston, by the way. You don't just go to Houston because you're okay at basketball.
Jason Crow Jr. out at Linwood's averaging 35 a game. He did that last year. He's a scoring machine. I got to look here, and I got Braden Burries of Roosevelt Eastvale. Mm-hmm. I'll get your comment on all these guys. Then Brandon Martinson of Mater Dei, who's led the resurgent Mater Dei team. And, of course, Elijah Arenas of Chatsworth.
Yeah, so actually the 2026 class, which is they're all sophomores. The sophomore class here in Southern California specifically might actually be the best in the region anywhere in the country, and that's Arenas, Jason Crow Jr., and Brandon McCoy from St. John Bosco. They're all already 5-star recruits. 3 sophomores right here in Southern California, literally like 1, 2, and 3 in the country for guard. So you're talking about really, really high-level prospects. And Braden Burries is a junior out of Eastvale Roosevelt. And I think another one I'd like to add is Carter Bryant. We saw at the top of the show, we talked about him. He's going to Arizona.
I just put 5 names up there, and there's probably 15 names we could have put up there.
Sure.
All right, girls hoops. I'm starting with Sierra Canyon. The champions, the section, even though they didn't win the state, Etiwanda did last year, and those are the 2 teams. I love what they're doing at this point. They're 20-1. McKinley Randolph and Jersey Robinson have been tremendous.
Yeah, Jersey Robinson is the new young lady. She won a state championship as a freshman in Arizona. Now she's here in Southern California as a sophomore. She actually just signed an NIL deal with Nike. That's how good she is. Different player than Juju Watkins, but in regards to impact and how talented they are, relatively the same impact. So Sierra Canyon, definitely the team that's getting talked about. However, I saw Etiwanda play at the Hoop Hall Classic. They knocked off Sidwell Friends of DC. They went toe-to-toe with Long Island Lutheran. I do think Etiwanda, if you had to tell me, hey, Tarek, who's 1, who's 2, give me Etiwanda at 1. They're a little deeper and they have more experience.
Well, they have Kennedy Smith. They have Aliana, who's a very good guard.
Aliana Morris, yep.
Yeah, she's tremendous point guard. So with those 2, inside and out.
And they got a new transfer from Nevada named Grace Knox. And I'll give you a comp. Think of like Tyson Chandler, like a women's basketball Tyson Chandler playing. She's strong, she's tough, she's physical, and she like dives on the floor. She's not scared of anything. She doesn't back down for anything. And she's actually one of the top juniors in the country.
Now, in the LA City section, they do have 2 outstanding teams, at least on paper, and we think they're really good. Birmingham, I have them here at 13-6. Westchester, 14-4. I love Mariah Blake. She is tremendous for the Comets.
I would give Westchester the edge. Mariah Blake been there before and knows what she's doing. So, I think really, really good player.
She's averaging 23 points a game. All right, key games tomorrow night. I put down a couple. Harvard Westlake at Sierra Canyon.
Yeah, that's the big one, and that's where I got, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I got to do a little research. If Harvard Westlake loses, I got to look last time David Rabiba lost 2 in a row at Harvard Westlake. He's been the coach there for, this is his 9th year. I bet you maybe it happened once or twice, in his first couple of years, but I don't think they've lost 2 in a row maybe in the last 3-4 years.
I don't think he lost 2 in a row when he was at El Camino.
Yeah. So
great success there.
They're just so well coached. But again, and I wrote a story on this, they've had a gauntlet of a week, Randy. They were at the Hoop Hall Classic in Springfield, Mass., 3,000 miles away on Monday. They fly home that Monday night after playing. They play Notre Dame on a Wednesday. Obviously, they lose. Never fun to lose. And now you got to turn around and play a good Sierra Canyon team on the road on Friday. That's a tough week.
We mentioned Jay Sarah without Coach Wilkinson. They got a big one tomorrow in the Trinity League at St. John Bosco. That's a great game.
There you go, another opportunity. And look, Jay Sarah's on the outside looking in open division-wise, but you can always look at teams and what games are on the slate that maybe give them an opportunity to get back in that open division conversation, and playing St. John Bosco is one of those games.
Domata Paco, do you know the name? He's a former lineman of the National Football League. Well, he had a lineman camp. This lineman camp for junior high school kids and for high school kids recently, and we were there at Whittier Christian. Take this stuff in. It's good stuff.
Domata Pecco here. We are having a Line Academy lineman camp here at Whittier Christian High School. It's a chance for offensive, defensive linemen to come out here and learn from some NFL pros, and also to compete against one another to see who the best offensive and defensive linemen are in the area. The reason I chose Whittier, California is because I was born at Whittier Presbyterian Hospital down next to Uptown Whittier, and I grew up on Stamey Road here off of Lambert and Cole Road. So went to Orchardale Elementary and Hillview Middle School. So it's good for me as an NFL pro when I came back, when I retired, to do something here back in our hometown of Whittier. And a big shout out to Coach Fletcher here and the organization at Whittier Christian, opening up the doors and allowing us to use the facilities. And then also the reason I want to actually do this type of stuff and share my story and try to help others out is because I know that God has a plan for guys, and I want to help out, just be a stepping stone or elevator and helping kids out, helping youth out, reach their goals and reach their aspirations. So the big thing for me is I hope that they take a couple of techniques and details for football that we taught them today, put them in their toolbox, so when it's game day, they're able to bring those techniques out and be successful on the field. Aside from the football stuff, I was able to share my testimony and about how God has been so good in my life throughout my journey to play 15 seasons in the NFL, and I want to be an example for them. If I can do it, they can do it as well.
Played at Garfield High School, played at Mount Sac, played at Northwestern State University. From there, when I came back in, I started coaching in 2003. 2003 till 2011, I coached at Westlake High School, 3 championships. After that, I went across the street to Oaks Christian, 2 years, 1 championship. From there, I went to Calabasas High School, was there 6 years, got 2 championships there, and then I was fortunate enough to step away and get picked up on an XFL team. From there, my background, I've always done NFL Combine, NFL Vets since 2005 till now. So I've always worked with the higher end guys, but my passion has always been with the younger group. And to this day, I have kids that are my quarterback from the 6th grade, who was my guard. He's a quarterback coach for the Carolina Panthers, Mike Bercovici. I had guys like Zach Charbonnet. I had guys like Johnny Wilson, FSU, might be top 15 in the draft. Just all these different kids. But my biggest theme was one coach made an impact on me, and that's what I wanted to do and just pay it forward.
Okay, so everyone started here at one point or another.
Used Domata as my coach as a lineman. I wasn't very good. He could have helped out. All right, a guy who helped out Birmingham, won a lot of championships every year was there. Peyton Waters, City Player of the Year for the 2nd year in a row. Now look at these numbers. He led him to a 12-3 record in a CIF City Section Championship. But Tarek had 79 receptions, 1,250 yards, 17 touchdowns on offense, and 69 tackles on defense and 2 picks.
There's no question he was the best player in the city. I think for a little bit, Jerry Misa-Alafua was in the conversation, and certainly a good player in his own right. But Peyton Waters, I mean, this is the kid that's the Washington commit, and, you know, an unbelievable play there, one-handed interception. It just shows you how dynamic he is. He plays defense, he plays offense, and he can beat you in multiple ways. And you know what? I've covered him for 4 years. Really, really nice kid.
That's from the Gridiron Classic, the LA City Section Gridiron Classic. And oh, by the way, for the first time, it'll be on TV. First year, first time viewing tomorrow night, right here at 8 o'clock. You can catch all the action. Chuck Price, who was the director of the game, joins me on the commentary, and he has great insight on the kids and the game and the future of the game. Tremendous game, a lot of scoring. That's all I'll tell you. It's a north-south format. All right, I also want to talk about Kingston Tisdale, the quarterback at Birmingham. Now, listen to these numbers. 29 touchdowns for Birmingham last year, just 1 pick, and it came in the 4th quarter of the state finals. And he's coming back for another year. Got to go back to Birmingham, right? He transfers to Inglewood. Why?
Yeah, you know, I'm sure we could speculate, and there's so many different reasons why kids transfer. And you know what? You just never know. Some of those reasons are really, really genuine and good. You know, for example, parent gets a job, gotta move. And there's all kinds of things. That could be the case. However, what we're seeing more of nowadays is different incentives to why you need to transfer. Could be playing time, could be exposure.
Can't be playing time. He played every down at Birmingham.
I'm just saying in general, maybe not necessarily for him. I'm trying to be more general.
Okay.
You know, that's all. You know, could be playing time, could be circumstance, could be what a coach is promising you. Hey, you know, you're not getting the recruiting that I think you should be getting. Come to me, I'll help you get recruited more. I don't know what it is, but I will say, and I think it's fair to say, that it is quite far-fetched to see him transfer after such success. I believe he's either was a starter or got significant playing time as a freshman, and he would have been a 4th-year starter, if I'm not mistaken, next year.
Yep.
And now he's on the move, so we'll see who the quarterback is for Birmingham next year.
They need one now. Okay. Here's another thing that baffled me before we leave tonight. Fred Emerson, who is a great guy at Taft, 1 year there as their head football coach in Woodland Hills, canned after a 2-9 season. And I don't know what they're doing in Woodland Hills because this guy was a great guy. And again, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, you know, again, and Taft High School, you know, now Derek Taylor's gone, and they're just changing. There's a changing of a guard. The face of the school in regards to athletics looks different. Neezer McNabb's not in charge of athletics anymore. She was the assistant principal in charge of athletics. I mean, there's just so many things. The AD is not there anymore. Mark Drucker. It's just a different program now, and maybe they needed Emerson out. I'm not sure, but loved his energy, loved his vision, and he did a good job with the kids.
You know what I need? I need to be cheered up this weekend. So they have competitive cheer in the LA City section. They moved it to this weekend. Usually it was later in the year. Competitive cheer at Roybal.
Isn't it your favorite?
I don't know about my favorite, but it's up there. I thought it was a great event last year. We had it on the air here. It was fun.
And if I'm not mistaken, I remember you telling me it got, some really, really good viewership, if not maybe like the best viewership that the station's ever had or something like that. I mean,
Best viewership the station has ever had for any program.
live.
It was competitive cheer, live and even after the fact on replays.
Yeah. Hey, listen, there's a lot of young ladies and a couple young men in there, I'm sure, competing, and people want to watch.
Well, that was a quick half hour. We're done.
Hey, man.
Tarek, I'm going to see you, I guess, tomorrow night at Sierra Canyon.
Yes, sir. Big game in Chatsworth.
In Chatsworth, yes. Not Chatsworth High School.
Correct.
Sierra Canyon in Chatsworth.
Correct, like the city of Chatsworth.
Yeah, of course, Sierra Canyon playing Harvard Westlake. So, for Tarek Fatal, I'm Randy Rosen. Hope you enjoyed our first one. We'll be back here for show number 2 in 2024 next Thursday night, 9 p.m. on SoCal Prep Report. Good night, everybody. You were great tonight.
I think they're expecting a good 13, 1400 for tomorrow.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,